All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really intense, fascinating subject drawn straight from a series of ancient texts known as the Bhavishya Malika. Written centuries ago, these prophecies are suddenly everywhere online. Why? Because interpreters claim they actually lay out a highly specific blueprint for the end of our current era. And the kicker? They place India at the absolute epicenter of this massive global shift. So let's break down exactly what these texts claim is coming our way. 100-story floods, 12 hands of snow in summer. Right out of the gate, the Bhavishya Malika isn't just talking about mild climate change. We're talking about a total, apocalyptic overturning of the natural order. The source material describes rain so heavy that people are literally swept away, with flooding reaching the height of a 100-story building. It even details totally bizarre stuff like massive snowstorms hitting right in the middle of summer. Interpreters are actually pointing out how this mirrors the strange weather patterns we're already seeing in places like Russia. It really sets the incredibly high stakes for what we're looking at today. But what's truly wild here is the timeline. Interpreters claim we aren't just approaching this, we are currently living directly inside this countdown. They point to earthquakes kicking off between 2024 and 2025, followed by a massive water deluge and the outbreak of a world war around 2026 and 2027. All of this chaos is described as a necessary crucible. It's all leading up to a hard deadline, the year 2032, which allegedly ushers in the Satya Yuga, basically an era of pure truth. Section 1. Prophecies of Global Chaos. According to the sources, transitioning between these eras is definitely not peaceful. It's born out of unprecedented global destruction. The texts get shockingly specific about the geography and the weather. Eastern nations, specifically Japan, China, and Indonesia, are allegedly prophesied to be completely wiped off the map by historical earthquakes and tsunamis, and the meteorology? Staggering. Try to imagine cyclones with winds hitting 600 kilometers per hour, global temperatures skyrocketing to a deadly 70 degrees Celsius. On top of that, catastrophic droughts breaking 126-year records, running for 6 consecutive years starting in 2026. And then you have this super eerie numerology woven right into the ancient verses. Interpreters point out a repeating pattern with the numbers 7, 13, 17, and 27. According to the Malika, when major global catastrophes hit, whether it's a massive earthquake, a new pandemic, or a war breaking out between India and Pakistan, these specific dates will be the focal points. It's like a highly structured pattern of chaos. Section 2. Alliances of the next war. Because as crazy as the weather gets, we have to shift our focus to a prophesied geopolitical realignment that is arguably way deadlier. This is one of the most fascinating and totally counterintuitive predictions regarding a third world war. Just impartially reporting what the texts say, we see a massive unified front forming. China, the USA, Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, and 13 other nations. The sources specifically predict a completely shocking peace deal between the US and Iran, brokered by Pakistan and Turkey. Once that alliance locks in, the texts claim this mega coalition will direct its military might against the defending forces of India, who will be steadfastly supported by Russia as its absolute greatest ally. But this isn't going to be your grandfather's war. Section 3. Tech and Financial Collapse. The Bhavishya Malika actually describes a very modern apocalypse. The big takeaway here is that humanity's greatest tools, they'll just stop working. Read through a modern lens, these ancient texts are warning that AI and internet networks will completely fail. Imagine your own smartphone just overheating and dying in your hand. Computers constantly crashing. Satellites going completely dark and bringing the entire electrical grid down with them. The era of machines will allegedly grind to a dead halt as the Earth's environment changes. Parallel to that total tech blackout is a financial emergency. The sources explain that governments are going to lock down bank accounts to fund the war effort. Strict codes of conduct will mean you literally cannot spend your own money freely. The texts vividly describe this as a great equalizer. The 100 crore billionaire and the poorest citizen, they're going to stand in the exact same line, getting the exact same meager rations. Think about what we value today: gold, silver, petrol, diesel. The texts claim all of this will become utterly worthless. The prophecy states people will literally just abandon their expensive fuel-less cars in forests and on the side of the road. And here's a wildly specific detail. Gold will become so completely devalued in this new era that people will use gold plates as everyday scrap metal. They'll actually prefer iron. The entire concept of wealth just evaporates. Okay, Section 4. India's role and leadership. This brings us to the core of this explainer. According to the Bhavishya Malika, India isn't just participating in these events, it is the prophesied anchor and the absolute epicenter of these shifting eras. Now, the texts make some highly specific, localized political predictions. We are simply reporting these here as interpretations of the source material. For instance, interpreters claim the texts state that Narendra Modi will be the absolute final Prime Minister of India. They describe an ascetic, spiritual leader holding this last position right before the entire democratic system dissolves, or replaces it, Ram Raja, a divine, spiritually governed state that supposedly takes over after the World War. The regional predictions are just as granular. Interpreters analyzing these ancient verses claim they accurately foresaw the rise of BJP dominance in places like Bengal, where historically they didn't really have a foothold. Plus, they interpret the texts as predicting that Yogi Adityanath will navigate intense challenges to retain leadership in Uttar Pradesh, eventually spreading his governance model even further. Again, we aren't taking sides here, it's just fascinating to see how these ancient prophecies are being mapped directly onto modern Indian politics. Geopolitically, the texts say India's destiny follows a very clear escalation. We move from a shadow war straight into direct military conflict. The sources claim India and Pakistan will first engage in proxy conflicts. We're talking terrorism, financial disruption, and crucially, major disputes over river waters, like the Indus Water Treaty. This shadow war will eventually reach a boiling point, culminating in full-blown direct military conflict around 2026, which is what pulls the rest of the world into the fight. So, with all this impending destruction, you're probably wondering how anyone actually survives. That brings us to Section 5, Spiritual Paths to Survival. The Bhavishya Malika is incredibly clear on this. Physical wealth, underground bunkers, or advanced technology will not save you. The only protection is spiritual. The sources list very explicit, actionable remedies. First, performing Trikal Sandhya, which is praying 3 times a day. Second, reading the holy text, the Bhagavat. And third, chanting the name Mahadev. The texts claim that maintaining this specific spiritual discipline creates a literal shield, one powerful enough to protect you from deadly viruses, extreme natural disasters, and yes, even nuclear fallout. And you're going to need that spiritual shield because of who is supposedly orchestrating this reset. The texts introduce the Kalki avatar, the prophesied final incarnation of the divine. According to the sources, Kalki is not here to negotiate. Kalki is prophesied to wield the unimaginable power of millions of Narasimhas, systematically destroying the corrupt, the sinners, and anyone who harms the innocent. And he does it all in just 3 terrifying nights. It is described as a brutal but completely necessary cosmic reset, which finally leads us to the grand finale, the whole reason for this entire crucible. Section 6, 2032, the Satya Yuga. The texts draw a really stark contrast here. On one hand, you have the agonizing end of our current era, the Kali Yuga, which is marked by death, incurable diseases like a rampant cancer pandemic, and utter financial ruin. On the other hand, you have the promised Satya Yuga. For those who actually survive past 2032 through their spiritual purity, the texts promise an unbelievable utopia. We're talking an era completely devoid of death, devoid of disease, and overflowing with boundless, freely available resources. And the physical transformations they predict for this new era? They are literal miracles. The texts claim the Earth's axis will shift so drastically that the sun will literally rise in the west. The salty oceans, they'll turn sweet and drinkable. All that catastrophic weather vanishes, replaced by 12 continuous months of perfect spring weather, sitting right at a comfortable 23 to 25 degrees Celsius. Trees will bear fruit and flowers at the same time, all year round. And honestly, the most astounding part, human biology will change. Survivors will regain eternal youth. All memories of past suffering will be erased entirely. And humans will actually regain the ability to fly. Yes, literally fly. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, looking at how the Bhavishya Malika maps out these massive natural disasters, geopolitical wars, and a complete spiritual reset, all with India as the crucible of a brand new era. So I want to leave you with this question. What if the chaotic events we're seeing today, the extreme weather, the crazy shifting alliances, our deep anxieties about technology, what if they were actually written down centuries ago as a strict blueprint for a new world? Whether you view these texts as literal truth, a metaphor, or just fascinating historical folklore, the narrative they weave about our present moment is absolutely captivating. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning what you see in the world around you.
Dear devotees, the Bhavishya Malika is a 600-year-old prophetic scripture of Sanatan Dharma, written by the disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu under the divine guidance of Lord Sri Jagannath himself. Its revelations carry an urgent call for humanity, warning that as sin reaches its peak, a third world war will arise around 2025 to 2026, followed by great turmoil through the forces of nature. Yet this is not a message of fear, but of awakening, for the golden age, Satya Yuga, will dawn by 2031 to 2032. The Malika guides us to live by truth, peace, compassion, forgiveness, and friendship, to follow a pure vegetarian life, engage daily in satsang, perform Trisandhya, study the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, and chant the holy name of Madhava. Under the divine guidance of Pujya Pandit Dr. Sri Kashinath Mishra, you can learn more at www.bhavishymalika.com or www.kalkiavatara.org, and also join our WhatsApp groups for regular updates. To know when Lord Kalki will appear, how Dharma will be restored, and details of the coming world events, read Bhavishya Malika Part 2 available on Amazon, and explore English videos of Pandit Dr. Kashinath Mishra on our YouTube channels, Kalki Avatar International and Kalki Avatar English. Download important PDFs on our websites containing the core messages from Bhavishya Malika. Let us awaken together, live righteously, and prepare for the dawn of a new golden age. Jai Shri Madhava, Jai Jagannath.